This is the Commission on Judicial Appointments. As Chief Justice of California, I serve as chair of the commission, and the members are Attorney General Rob Bonta and Presiding Justice J. Anthony Klein of the First Appellate District, Division 2. Amoy Kim serves as Secretary to the Commission on Judicial Appointments, and Jorge Navarrete, our California Supreme Court Administrator, and the Judicial Council tech staff have helped us conduct this hearing remotely. This hearing is to consider Governor Gavin Newsom's appointment of Justice Teri L. Jackson to the office of Presiding Justice, Court of Appeal, First Appellate District, Division 5. We are in receipt of a letter from Governor Newsom appointing Justice Jackson to fill a vacancy created by the retirement of Presiding Justice Barbara Jones. The state constitution specifies that an appointment by the governor to the Court of Appeal is effective when confirmed by the Commission on Judicial Appointments. We received correspondence pertaining to this appointment, and we made these letters available to the press and to the public a few days ago. Pursuant to a request by Governor Newsom, the State Bar's Commission on Judicial Nominees Evaluation has undertaken an evaluation of the qualifications of Justice Jackson for this position. Ms. Stella Nye, the chair of the Jenny Commission, is present today, publicly announced the results of that evaluation, and she will do so later in the proceedings. Justice Jackson has asked that the following persons testify on her behalf, and we'll hear from them in this order, invite each separately to the podium. The Honorable Peter Siggins, retired Presiding Justice of the Court of Appeal, First Appellate District, Division 3, and testifying together are Justice Jackson's nephews, Jason and Jaron Collins. First, we'll hear from Justice Siggins. Justice Siggins?
Chief Justice Canto Sakaue, Attorney General Bonta, and Presiding Justice Klein, good morning to you all. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be here today to speak in support of the confirmation of my friend and former colleague, Justice Teri Jackson, to be the Presiding Justice of Division 5 of the First District Court of Appeal. It's also an honor to share today's remarks with Jason and Jaron Collins. As you will soon see, I'll be the G League speaker here today. They're the real pros when it comes to talking about their favorite aunt. I'm sure that my remarks will pale in comparison. But I've known Teri for many years. I don't recall exactly where or when we first met. I think it was at some Bar Association event a long time ago. But over her years on the Superior Court, we had occasion to interact more and more. And I suspect, like most people, I grew to like her more and more. By the time she was nominated as a justice of our court, I considered her to be my friend, and I was grateful that she'd be joining me in Division 3 with my colleagues. I remember sitting in the gallery at her confirmation hearing that day and feeling a sense of gratification and relief that she was Governor Newsom's selection. I also recall my sense of disbelief and regret that it had taken 116 years for the First District Court of Appeal to have its first woman African-American justice. Before that, as you know, Teri was the first African-American woman on the San Francisco bench, where she also became the presiding judge. And now, Justice Jackson is once again a trailblazer, and she's poised to become the first woman African-American presiding justice on our court, if I can still call it that. So we can all say it's about time, but as someone who knows her, I can also say it's about Teri. There's no question that she has the intellect and acumen to be a presiding justice, but she also has other qualities that will make her an outstanding choice. She's conscientious and she's considerate in a way that takes into account not just her responsibilities, but how her exercise of those responsibilities affects all those that she works with. Whether it was circulating opinions or setting cases for argument on the calendar, she always considers the effect that her addition to the workload will make on her colleagues. When she was first assigned to our court, and we all actually went to the courthouse, She would unfailingly come into my chambers and propose to me how she was attacking her workload, and how she would try to ensure that her plan wouldn't disrupt or burden any of the other division's work. She would also give me a quick check to see if she was meeting her responsibilities, to which I would always answer, without fail, "Teri, if you weren't diligent in meeting your responsibilities and getting your work done, you wouldn't be here." And she'd always answer, "Okay, I just want to make sure, and you'll tell me if I'm not, okay?" And I'd roll my eyes and we'd go on with the rest of our day. She's unfailingly cheerful. No matter the gravity of the situation or the tension in the room, as can sometimes happen when strong emotions and opinions converge, she'll keep everything in perspective, and she handles difficult situations with a smile. Her positivity is infectious. She likes people and is a joy to be around. She's courteous. Her manner with the court staff and argument with counsel is polite and respectful. So respectful at times that I'm sure it's disarming. More than once in oral argument, I could hear counsel start to go down a line that may not make a lot of sense and have Justice Jackson to the side of me say, "Excuse me, counsel, but I'm having a little bit of trouble following your argument." I'd always sit back and think, okay, I want to hear this. This is going to be fun. Finally, I'd just like to say that she's a good listener, and she doesn't think of herself as having all the answers. She's curious, whether it's about a proposition expressed in a draft opinion or some procedure that's employed at the court. Her first instinct isn't to say what she'd do. Her first instinct is to ask why what was done and to evaluate it. Over the course of my career, I've had the privilege and responsibility to participate in hiring hundreds of lawyers. Keen intellect and legal acumen were always job requirements, and those were always found among candidates in the applicant pool. But it's the characteristics like empathy, kindness, humility, good cheer, and personal grace that are more rare. I always tried to find the candidates with those qualities in addition to their qualifications. And whenever I did, I never regretted that kind of choice. In short, Teri's temperament, her intellect, and work ethic are what got her to the Court of Appeal. But it's the qualities of her heart and her gracious personality that will make her excel as a presiding justice and will be her most lasting legacy. I'm proud to unequivocally recommend my friend, Justice Teri Jackson, for your confirmation as presiding justice of Division 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Presiding Justice Siggins. Good to see you again. Next, we'll hear from Justice Jackson's nephews, Jason and Jaron Collins.
Good morning. I'm Jason Collins. Jaron Collins. Hello. I want to speak about my aunt's heart, something that Justice Siggins was just talking about, and her being a trailblazer. Something that stuck out to me from her last confirmation was the line, "Yes, you might be the first person in the door, but you make sure that you're not the last." I can relate to that, being the first openly gay player in the NBA. And I wouldn't have been able to do what I did without my aunt. She was the first family member that I came out to. I did that because I always had a special connection with her. I trusted her in a way that I trusted no other family member, even my twin brother. She has a heart and a soul that is just open, and it radiates everywhere she goes. And her sacrifice and dedication to the law. I mean, I remember being a young child and coming up to watch her as a district attorney. She loves the law and in every aspect of that. And even sometimes to her own detriment, to her own health, when she was in need of a double hip replacement. I'm sorry, Auntie, for talking about it, but that she would still drive to school and be that law professor after serving a long day on the bench and at the court. She was always thinking about the next generation and giving back. That's the kind of person that she is. She always will extend her arm and try to inspire somebody else to be their best self and to pursue the law as she loves it. And my brother has some few words as well.
Yeah, so I'll be brief, but thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you guys. Passion, dedication, commitment. Those are a few qualities that come to mind when I think of my aunt. And myself in my own capacity as a professional coach, I'm always constantly telling our players, you get out what you put in. And my aunt is a shining example of that. She has always put the work in. I'm so proud of you. Tremendous accomplishment. And I wish you nothing but the best, and thank you again, everyone.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from the Jenny Chair, Ms. Stella Nye.
Good morning. Madam Chief Justice, Attorney General Bonta, Presiding Justice Klein, I am honored to present this report on behalf of the Commission on Judicial Nominees Evaluation to summarize the basis of the Jenny Commission's rating of Justice Teri L. Jackson for the office of Presiding Justice of the Court of Appeal, 1st Appellate District, Division 5. The Jenny Commission conducted its evaluation of Justice Jackson on February 20th, 2021, finding her to be exceptionally well qualified for service as Presiding Justice on the Court of Appeal, 1st Appellate District. According to Jenny Commission rules, the rating reflects the Commission's determination that Justice Jackson possesses qualities and attributes of remarkable or extraordinary superiority that enable her to perform the appellate judicial function, with distinction. Justice Jackson is a first-generation Californian, born to parents who grew up in Louisiana during Jim Crow. She matriculated at the University of California, Santa Cruz at age 15, and received a BA degree majoring in politics in 1977. She received her JD degree from Georgetown Law in 1980. After working for a civil litigation firm in San Jose, the candidate joined the San Mateo County District Attorney's Office in 1981. In 1984, Justice Jackson was recruited by the San Francisco County District Attorney's Office to create the nation's first domestic violence prosecution unit, becoming a leader in California on prosecuting domestic violence crimes. She also prosecuted the first felony domestic elder abuse case in California. In her 13 years at the San Francisco County District Attorney's Office, the justice, led the domestic violence, misdemeanor, and homicide units, becoming the first woman of color ever to lead the homicide unit in San Francisco. In 1997, Justice Jackson joined Orrick, Herrington, and Sutcliffe as of counsel, handling complex litigation, employment defense, trade secret, and white-collar defense matters. In 2002, Justice Jackson made history when Governor Gray Davis appointed her to the San Francisco County Superior Court. She was the first African-American woman appointed to that bench. During her 18 years on the trial court, the candidate worked in nearly every department and dove into each assignment with zeal. For example, though initially unfamiliar with asbestos or California Environmental Quality Act matters, she approached assignments as a challenge to learn new fields in depth. 9 months into the assignment, she had implemented a comprehensive case management order for all asbestos cases filed in San Francisco County. This case management order was ultimately codified into San Francisco County Superior Court's uniform local rules and became the statewide model for handling asbestos and mass hazardous tort cases. Over her career in the trial court, Justice Jackson's peers selected her to serve as the supervising judge for the asbestos, CEQA, criminal grand jury, and criminal departments, as the assisting presiding judge, and ultimately as the presiding judge. She presided over the court during an economic recession and was forced to cut 10% of the court's budget. She successfully guided the court through the crisis and prevented staff layoffs by convincing her judicial colleagues to take a voluntary. Justice Jackson served in the San Francisco County Superior Court Appellate Department, authoring over 50 opinions. While in the Appellate Department, she served on numerous management and oversight committees related to the court's internal operations. In 2008, Justice Jackson was asked by Chief Justice Ronald George to serve in the Riverside County Criminal Backlog Reduction Task Force. She thus relocated to Riverside, where for several months she presided over criminal matters to reduce the county's backlog of criminal cases. In 2009, she was appointed to the Judicial Council Criminal Jury Instructions Advisory Committee. She also was appointed by Chief Justice Teri L to serve on the Judicial Council's pre-trial detention reform work group, whose report and recommendations became the basis for Senate Bill 10. Justice Jackson taught at the University of San Francisco School of Law on Monday nights for 15 years, and at Hastings College of the Law on Tuesday nights for 17 years. She is active in numerous community organizations, particularly those focused on mentoring at-risk youth and African American women. As a trial court judge, Justice Jackson regularly reserved her Friday afternoons so law students could visit with her in chambers to discuss anything they wanted. She later expanded the program to allow any member of the community, particularly those in underserved communities, to visit with her in chambers. Her goal is to demystify the courts. In 2020, Justice Jackson was appointed to the First Appellate District, Division III, where again, she blazed a new trail as the first African American woman appointed to the bench. Her trademark work ethic, dedication, and commitment have already paid off. In less than 1 year, she reduced the backlog of inherited pending cases by more than half. Justice Jackson is universally praised for her fairness, integrity, humility, hard work, and professionalism. She is applauded for her strong management skills from her time as the presiding judge of the San Francisco County Superior Court. Justice Jackson's peers give her glowing reviews. The camaraderie she has fostered in Division III is attributable to her strong leadership skills and engaging personality. Justice Jackson's career spans nearly the entire judicial system, working as a criminal and civil litigator, presiding over nearly every department in a high-volume superior court, handling administrative and supervisory responsibilities in that same court, and serving as an appellate justice. Her fairness and reasoned approach to the law has earned her the respect and praise of colleagues, peers, opponents, and attorneys who have appeared before her. Her strong interpersonal and leadership skills will serve her well as presiding justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nye. I now invite Justice Jackson to the podium of sorts to provide a statement and to answer any questions the Commission may have. Justice Jackson.
Thank you. May it please the Court, Madam Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and Justice Klein, it is such an honor and a privilege. 18 months ago, I was here at a similar podium where I was so nervous that I remember saying I really welcomed the opportunity to serve on the 2nd District. And then I realized, wrong court, it's the 1st District. And so it's such an honor and pleasure for the governor to nominate me today to serve on the 1st District and Division 5 as the presiding justice. What I hope to bring to this position is the same energy, dedication, openness, willing to learn, and working with colleagues. And I hope to do well, and I hope to live up to everything that has been said about me, and I look forward to this new challenge. So with that, I am open to any questions that the Commission would like to ask me.
Thank you, Justice Jackson. Any questions, General Bonta or Presiding Justice Klein?
I do have a question, but before I put that question, I'd like to say something to the Attorney General that I neglected to point out at the earlier confirmation hearing. I believe this is your first performance here as a member of this commission. I'm the oldest person on this commission, and I'm here really only because of my seniority, which is not all that commending, but it does put somebody on the commission who's been around a while and who remembers, has a sense of the institution. When I was appointed to this commission, there was a movement in California to remove the Attorney General from this commission. And the reason was that the Attorney General appears in the vast majority in every criminal case, and in most of the, maybe it's not a majority, but it's a substantial portion of our work, are cases involving the Attorney General. And there was a history of a past attorney general who politicized this commission. Surprisingly, that was Earl Warren when he was district attorney of Alameda County. He later made up for that conduct. But I do want to say that for the 40 years that I've been, almost 40 years I've been a member of this court, and 30 years that I've been a member of this commission, no attorney general has politicized this commission. I think our appointment process is exemplary among the states for many reasons, but I'm confident that you are going to continue that tradition. I'm not describing this issue because of any effort to change your conduct. I've admired you as a legislator. I think I know what you stand for. I think you're very interested in reforming our criminal justice system, as many of us are. But I guess I just want to bring this issue to your attention because it gets so little attention. With that, let me turn to my colleague, Justice Jackson. Now, like Justice Tucker, and like every other single judge on the Court of Appeal in the First Appellate District, I have previously sat on a commission that confirmed Justice Jackson. And I asked her, I think, several questions, none of which were embarrassing. And I really was not prepared to answer a question until yesterday. And I went over very closely the personal data questionnaire that every candidate for judicial office in California has to fill out. And this is a difficult, sometimes I think if you complete this application, you deserve serious consideration for the bench. It's so onerous. But one of the questions, it's near the end of the questionnaire, that I always look at is question number 59. And the question is, what are the three most important qualities that you think are necessary in a judge? And your answers were leadership. That was the first quality that you gave. And the second was organizational skills. But the third was the one that I found the most interesting, and that was courage. I don't think any candidate for the appellate court whose confirmation I participated in, and that's a lot of judges, has ever used courage. And I'd like to know why you think courage is essential in a judge. I'm not suggesting it shouldn't be by any means, but I'm curious as to what your reasons are.
Thank you for that question. For me, courage has many definitions. One is judicial independence, that you're able and you have the ability to make the decisions that are not popular, but what is right. Courage also means to look at something differently. That means just because we have been doing it for 15, 20 years, that it's okay to re-examine and to say, well, maybe it is not working. The classic example for me would be bail reform. We had a system that we thought was to enhance public safety. We thought that it was to justice and it was fair, only to find out that the bail system was not fair, that it impacted people of color, people who did not have the financial resources, and it wasn't enhancing safety. So it's courage to re-examine and to try to think outside that box. Courage also means you have to sometimes say no and make difficult choices, which happened to me when I was the presiding justice. And I'm not comparing my experience to what the current presiding judges were doing in the trial courts. But when faced with a budget and you had to give the sobering news that there may be layoffs, that our court may have to shutter earlier than normal, and not only to explain that to your staff, to explain it to your colleagues and to the public, and then to be able to sit down and work with others. And that courage means that I don't have all the answers, but I can sit down and listen, that I can take in information so we can solve the problem together. So those are my examples of courage.
Thank you. I'm not surprised, actually. I remember, and I'm sure that you do as well, several years ago, a lawyer challenged a judge on the Superior Court, a judge who was up for election, on the ground that he was a Republican. And the theory was that San Francisco is a city with an 85% Democratic registration, and this judge could be defeated simply because, as his challenger said, he didn't possess, quote, San Francisco values. Now, at an earlier election, that strategy did work, and it defeated a San Francisco Superior Court judge really on the ground that he was a Republican. And this was a reprise of that strategy. I believe you were the presiding judge of the court at that time, but I do know that you stood up and defended. I'd be surprised if you were a Republican. You don't have to reveal that. In San Francisco, that might require courage, but you did something that many judges are loath to do, understandably, which is to get involved in a political process. But this was a political process in which the canons of judicial ethics authorize judicial involvement, even though most judges are loath to do that. You weren't. You stood up. You were heard. I think you made a difference.
Thank you.
General Bonta, any questions?
Thank you. Let me first thank Justice Klein for your thoughts and your words. I appreciate the insight and the wisdom and the historical perspective. Thank you for that. And Justice Jackson, I think you're going to be an incredible presiding justice. Your reputation precedes you. Everything I have ever heard about you and your praises have been sung often in my presence are, of course, that you're an incredible justice, but also have a reputation for compassion and humanity, and for seeing and valuing the voiceless and the vulnerable in our system and in our community. Something I very much appreciate. I think that leads to being a fantastic judge and justice among many other things. I also am impressed by and thankful for your commitment to diversity, and an area of priority and passion for me as well. And maybe I'll end with a question on that issue. Given your leadership as a co-chair of the California Judicial Mentorship Program, what do you think we need to do to get to diversify our California judiciary and have it look more like California?
Well, I appreciate that question as well. I don't have all the answers, but right now I think that the strategic plan that we have going out, this is something that's innovative, where, as before, I've been invited to many panels by bar associations and community groups where they come to me and say, well, how do I become a judge? How do I become a justice on the Court of Appeals? This is the first time where we as judges are doing a more proactive. We're going out into the courts, into the communities, and inviting people to be a part of the process. I can't guarantee that you're going to get an appointment, but I'm going to help you through the process to do the application and tell you what my experience was from being appointed to the trial court to ultimately to the Court of Appeal. So that's just Teri Jackson's one input among many, but But I like the idea that, and I'm so excited, and you can see I'm a little passionate about it, that we're going to be proactive to try to draw people in and go out there into the communities. And when they say demystify the process, that means let's tell them that this is their court and that they should be a part of their court.
Thank you for that. I love that. I think that affirmative, proactive outreach is so important. And thank you for your commitment to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Justice Jackson, thank you for your work. We've served together on different committees, particularly the Judicial Council at one of the more difficult times in the budget history of California. And I also know that you have lent your skills as a professor with our new judges. We look at NJO, the new judges orientation, and we pick folks who can speak to the new judges about the expectations and the experiences and share, and you do that quite often for us, and you do it well. And I thank you that you continue to do so. I'm also aware of your teaching. I'm glad that you reach out beyond the sworn professionals to the students, because the students are our future, and sometimes it's confusing and hard and frightening, and they're navigating an academic program that's challenging. And so I ask you, as an appellate justice, it's a very different role from being a trial judge. And the trial judges, you and I know, we're in the courtroom, we're in the elevators, we're with juries, we are at the Bar Association, in the mix. Appellate justices have to do a little more to get into the mix because of the nature of our work. And our appellate justices in California do an astounding job of reaching out, educating, teaching, participating. And we have newer and newer issues to the judiciary and some long-standing issues to the judiciary, not just in California, but nationally. Public trust issues, public trust and confidence issues, funding issues, diversity issues, as has been mentioned. What is your suggestion for appellate justices to do even more in our roles to make justice accessible and to demystify it?
Thank you for that question. And Justice Tucker has already answered part of that question, but hopefully I can add some more to it. What we're doing right now in going to schools, and I'm very proud of the fact that before the pandemic, we were actually having oral arguments in various high schools in the community and so forth. But I might say one thing, and of course, the pandemic has changed the whole dynamics of our court system. We are now on Blue Jean. We are doing trials by Zoom, and we just had to, in order to keep the doors open. But one of the good things that has come out of this whole process is that more and more people can see oral argument and see what we do by way of this Blue Jean. I don't know if we have the budget or if we can keep it, but the public access has been tremendous. I remember the first time our court went on Blue Jean for oral argument, I think close to 90-something people showed up for our division alone to watch oral argument. I have to admit, 85 of them were my relatives from Louisiana. But the bottom line is, it was fantastic. And I remember I had on the calendar a very complicated issue dealing with collective bargaining agreement. And then I had a case that was important, but not as complicated, dealing with trespass, dealing with trees on a neighbor's property. So after the appropriate 30 days was over and the case was final, my relatives, of course, they knew, they called me, and I just knew they were going to talk about the collective bargaining case because I was so proud of it and I wrote it and it was published. No, they were concerned about what happened in that trespass case, the day-to-day things that impact their lives. So I think that having some form or way that we can advertise or keep the Blue Jean component, I don't know, where people can come and watch oral argument would be wonderful. Going into the schools will be wonderful. And I for the first year after being appointed to the first district in Division 3, I had a backlog and I couldn't teach. And I really missed that. So I wanted to cut down my backlog, Hopefully I got it back in order, and I want to be back at USF Law School and Hastings Law School, and I want to be back reaching out and possibly doing what I did before, recruiting at the college level at UC Santa Cruz, getting people to think about law school. And that's starting to work with them, as I did before, in their sophomore year in college. So those are the things that I think that we can do, and many of us are already doing. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Justice Jackson. This does complete the list of witnesses who have testified and are called. Are the members of the commission ready to formally vote?
Yes.
All in favor, then, of confirming Justice Teri Jackson for this position, please say aye.
Aye.
On this record and the correspondence received, the commission finds the Honorable Teri L. Jackson qualified to be the presiding justice of the Court of Appeal, First Appellate District, Division 5, and we confirm her appointment. Congratulations, Justice Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The formal part of the hearing is finished, and Justice Jackson has asked me to administer her oath of office. We'll move to that in just a few moments, and thereafter, Justice Jackson will have an opportunity to address the audience. Justice Jackson, please raise your right hand to be sworn. I state your name.
I, Teri L. Jackson,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Presiding Justice Jackson. The floor is yours.
Thank you very, very much. I hope to be brief, and forgive me if I get a little emotional, but first and foremost, I want to thank the commission. I would also like to thank the Chief Justice. I do remember our days on the Judicial Council, and I remember you were my mentor initially when I had come on the Judicial Council. I've also remember working with the Attorney General and talking about bail reform. And Chief Justice Klein, thank you very much for your help. And when our court was under fire and four of my colleagues in the trial court were up for election. As I said before, 18 months ago, here I am, and the governor of the state of California nominated me, and I was being elevated. So I want to thank Governor Newsom, the appointment secretary, Luis Cespedes, and of course the deputy appointment secretary, Gonzalo Martinez, who has seen me a few times. I'm truly honored and humbled to become the presiding justice of the 5th Division and to follow in the footsteps of a longtime friend and colleague, retired presiding justice Barbara Jones. I also appreciate and thank the Jenny Commission for their volunteer work, and not just my evaluation, but all of the work that they've done. The DOJ investigation, and of course the speakers, the presiding justice, retired Peter Siggins, who graciously agreed to work on my behalf. And when he talked about my interaction in the chambers, Pete, I hope and pray that my going into your chambers, Peter, so often didn't run you out of here. But anyhow, I want to thank you for all of your guidance as a presiding judge for Division 3. You showed me how to work with collegiality, support, and to make that division fun. There was not an issue that confronted our division that you didn't handle calmly and smoothly, and I hope to do the same. And to the twins, I often call you the twins, and I hope I'm not embarrassing you. I often think of you as my sons, without the headaches of their parents, but they always had a very keen interest in the law. And if I can share this one story with you about Jason and Jaron. At age 7, they called me. I was still an attorney at the time. And they asked me whether or not their privacy rights, their Fourth Amendment rights, had been violated. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? Apparently their parents had gone into their room to look for a report card that they didn't turn in to them. And parents went in, got the report card. So Jason and Jaron immediately said they violated our Fourth Amendment rights and they entered our bedroom without a search warrant. You have to do something about it. Look, I'm smart enough not to cross my sister and brother-in-law on that issue. But I said, well, why is it that you're concerned? And they said, we just didn't have time to fix the grades on that report card before they were able to get it out of our book. So I always thought they were going to be my lawyers. And then, as you know, they went on to have great careers in the NBA. Jason talked about not only being the first openly gay NBA player, but he was also a good defensive player. And he also taught me a story, which I've used and carried with me, about what it means to be a good coach. And a good coach means that not all players have equal talent, but they all deserve to be treated fairly and equally. And I've kept that motto, Jason, so thank you. Jaron, you are my tenacious fighter, never allowing anyone to limit or to measure you. You will always rise. You also once told me about a coach from the Utah Jazz, Jerry Sloan, who said to you, how do you want to be remembered when this is all over with? And that philosophy that you shared with me is similar. How do I want to be remembered? I hope I'm remembered as someone who's trying to be fair. I hope I'm remembered to be open, willing to learn, tenacious, and yes, Justice Klein, courageous. So Jaron, thank you. Or maybe I shouldn't say Jaron. Coach Collins, thank you for those words of wisdom. I want to thank again the governor for his faith and confidence in elevating me or nominating me for the position as presiding justice of Division 5. As I said, I thank the appointment secretary, and I look so forward to working with my colleagues in Division 5, as well as working with the APJ Justice Humes. And now for my Division 3 colleagues, Justice Fujisaki and Justice Petra. If I can steal, and you remember when we'd have our conferences, I would always draw some analogy to the oral argument or a case from a movie. I'm a movie critic. I love American movie classic. So if I can steal a line from one of the movies, that it's called As Good as It Gets. And because of the two of you, you have made me a better justice and a better person, and I will forever be indebted to you. Now to my other colleagues in Division 3, Garth, Xenia, my chamber colleagues and staff, David, Lee, Paulette, you have helped me along the way, and you have helped our first district, as well as our central staff and Peter Rose. And now I have to thank, because my sister is here in my chambers, and she is staring at me with laser vision. Yes, I want to thank my family. I want to thank Portia and Paul, my brother-in-law, Elsa, my nieces and nephew, who I hope they are watching, Ale, Vale, and Masi. I hope that you're proud of your tia Teri. And all of my family and friends, thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Presiding Justice Jackson. Best wishes from all of us. Thank you.